वैष्णवी वाली की जय, शुभानुराज कुमारी जी की जय, जय जय श्री राधे। राधा नाम परम सुखदायी, राधा नाम परम सुखदायी, राधा Chandraya Radhikaya Tadale Krishnaya Krishnamurtaya Bhaktaya Namo Namah Sri Radhavendra Dukhi Ananda Ilamaya Vigrahaya Prema Abhadvyascha Visundaraya Tasmai Mahaprema Rasapradaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Bhaktya Vihina Aparada Lakshay Chittastakamanikamamurti Vihina Mahita Saranam Prapanam Vinde Namaste Paramanavindam Brinde Namaste Paramanavindam Govinda Namo Paramanaviti Govinda Namo Paramanaviti Govinda Namo Paramanaviti Govinda Namo Paramanaviti Hare Krishna Hare Rama Hare Sankirti Govinda Namo Paramanaviti Sham Sundar Skandasika Smarhas Murlim Manoida Radhikaraskam Mamakupanidhi Supriyacharna King Kurim Kuru Tavaivasmi Najivami Tayavana Jivikyaya Devi Tam Namam Charantikam. First of all, I offer my Sastang Dandavat Puspanjali, my heart like flowers, thousands and thousands of times at the lotus feet of my holy master, my supremely worshipable spiritual Gurudev, Asmadev Paramaradhatama Guru Pada Padma Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnupada Shtotarasta Sri Rupanugachari Varya Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. Secondly, after my pranam thousands of times at the lotus feet of my Param Gurudev, to Srila Prabhupada and to all of our Sri Rupanuga Gaudiya Guru Parampara. And finally, after my pranam to all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis, Vanchakalpikas, Vaishnavas, Namo Namah. So, on the first day of our festival, we celebrated the appearance of Lord Nrsimhadev, his wonderful pastimes with his dear devotee, Prahlad Maharaj. Yesterday, we also heard so many pastimes. We celebrated the appearance day of Sri Radharaman, the appearance day of Srila Madhavendra Puripad, Sri Srinivas Acharya, and also the Salil Bihar, the water pastimes, the Nauka Vilas, boating pastimes of Madan Mohan on the lake of Narendra Sarovar in Jagannath Puri took place, began yesterday, and Mahaprabhu and all his associates from Puri and Navadvip participated in those pastimes. So today, we want to discuss some Siddhanta, very important. Siddhanta Baliya Chitte Nakaro Alas Yahoite Krishna Lagi Sudida Manas. In the beginning of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Pad, he says that devotees, when they begin to hear philosophy, they should not say, oh, I am a bhakta. I am not interested in philosophy. Siddhanta Baliya. No, this is just philosophical discussion. Said, no, Siddhanta Baliya, nakara alas. Don't be lazy. Siddhanta is somewhat difficult. But if one will make the effort to hear very patiently and very deeply, a great benefit will come. Jahurti Krishna lagi sudhita manas. The mind will become steady and fixed at the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. So, we just arrived here from a big festival in Mexico with the acharyas, many different Gaudiya mats, inaugurating the big celebrations for the 150th anniversary of the appearance of Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Sarita Thakur. And especially for this celebration, we published this book, Gaudiya Darshan. Perhaps this may be one of the greatest lectures ever spoken in this day of Lord Brahma by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarita Thakur, and now it is available in English for the first time after almost 100 years. One may wonder, almost 100 years passed, why was it never translated? And the answer is, because it's very difficult. Still, it's very valuable. So what I would like to do this evening is, it's not possible to fully go into all of the wonderful things that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarita Thakur was sharing with his audience on that day, the 11th of August, 1929, in the Albert Hall in Calcutta, because his lecture was many hours long. And extremely profound. But this evening, I thought I would just cherry pick a few of the highlights, so that you may have some inspiration to sit down and come very, very close to Prabhupada Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarita Thakur and his vichardhara, the current of his conception of pure Gaudiya Vaishnavism. So this book is called Gaudiya Darshan. And the whole book is explaining the meaning of these two words. What does Gaudiya mean? And what does Darshan mean? Srila Prabhupada gives a very moving example to illustrate the nature of our existence in our conditioned state. He is quoting a verse from the Upanishads, Sa yata shakuni sutrena prapaddha. The meaning is this. There is one vulture, and the leg of the vulture has been tied with a thread, and then tries to take off, to fly, but immediately is pulled back by the rope. And he's jumping in this direction and that direction and this direction very desperately, here and there, in all directions. He keeps fluttering again and again and again. And then what finally happens? When he becomes completely exhausted and he cannot break out, he just takes shelter of the post and he sits there peacefully. So, who is that vulture? That is us, the Atma, the soul. It's a very graphic illustration. In the Vedas, it is said, in Vedanta Sutra, that, first of all, Atma is very tiny. He's Anu, Chitkana. He's an atom of spiritual energy of the Supreme Lord. And he is situated in the heart chakra, And he's sometimes rising up and coming down again. When the Atma is in the waking state, he rises up and he's on the level of the eyes. When he goes into the dreaming state, he's on the level of the Vishuddhi Chakra, the throat. And when he goes into Shushupti, so that Jagra, wakefulness, Swapna, dreaming, and Shushupti, deep sleep. When he goes into deep sleep, he enters into the Paramatma, in the heart. So in the Shruti it is said, we left the Lord, but we did not know we had left the Lord. And that is a description of the soul from the state of deep sleep, when he has entered into Paramatma, coming into dreaming and then coming into the waking state. So this is the meaning. We have left the Lord, but we did not know that we had left the Lord. And then he goes back into dreaming and deep sleep. So if we see our lives, this is what we are doing. We are in deep sleep at night, and then we dream, and then we wake up, and then we go back, and we're oscillating up and like that vulture who is tied to the post, keeps trying to take off in different directions. So we keep leaving the Lord and then going out and trying to taste the world, but being unsuccessful, and then we come back again and again and again. So what are we looking for out there in the world? We want what is called a swadhinata. Swadhinata means independence, freedom. That freedom and independence is manifest, or we conceive of it in different ways depending on our conditioning and personality. So a very vulgar person conceives of independence as the independence to taste the objects of this world, just hedonism, a vulgar hedonism. Then they want independence to just enjoy. Then those who are somewhat more evolved, they can delay their gratification. So they have a more strategic hedonism. And they're thinking that I'll have swadhinata, independence, when we have political independence. We have to be politically independent. My political party has to be in power. And so they're coming out again and again to try to establish their political independence. Then there are other persons who are within the Varnashram Dharma system. And they are doing Dharma, pious activities, because they think, oh, it's just suffering in this world. They have a more advanced strategic hedonism. They think, if I do jagyas, then in my next life I can go to heaven. I'll be in the court of Indra with Urvashi and Ramba and all the Apsaras there, enjoying. And then I'll really have swadhinata, independence. Then there are others who think, oh, in this world, even in the heavenly planets, everything is temporary. So real independence means to get mukti, nirvana, Brahma sayujya, just enter into the light of Brahman, and then to just negate the experience of material existence. So Prabhupada Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, he's saying that all of these conceptions of swadhinata or independence, they are called Jad Bhog Mai Swadhinata. Jad Bhog Mai Swadhinata. Jad means the inert material energy. Bhog Mai means the consisting of enjoyment. And Swadhinata means independence. In other words, they're all based on the material enjoying spirit, and even the desire for liberation is just a kind of frustration. I tried to enjoy, but I failed, so let me just deny and negate everything. So even the desire for mukti, impersonal liberation, is based on the concept of Jad Bhog Mai Swadhinata. So Srila Prabhupada is explaining that just as this vulture, why is the example of a vulture given? Because a vulture is always trying to enjoy something which is the contaminated. Right? It's flying. When fly is high in the sky and it's looking for a dead body, something disgusting to land and taste. So in the same way, our material mind is like that. It's always trying to land on a jad, a dead, insentient sense object. So in this sense, we are like the vultures. So the example of the vulture has been given, but after trying again and again for a long time, he gets totally exhausted, and he just takes shelter of the post to which he is bound. And that means that every soul, every Atma is part and parcel of Paramatma. Mamayvang so jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. Every soul is part and parcel of Krishna. You cannot escape Krishna. Krishna is the supreme reality. So we can try to flutter here and there like mad for so many lifetimes, but in the end, it's a foregone conclusion. We'll have to take shelter of the pran of our pran, of the life of our life, see Krishna, and accept our bondage, bandhana. But due to the mind being polluted by the concept of jad bhog maya swadhinata, we don't understand that the supreme swadhinata, the supreme independence, is prema bandhan, to be bound by love to Sri Krishna. Sri Krishna himself is the supreme, unlimited, unfettered, absolute reality. He is supremely independent, but his greatest happiness is what? Ama bhakta preme bandhiyache hridaya bitare yaha netra pari taha dekhaya mari. Sri Krishna said, I am bound by the rope of love in the heart of my devotee. So Krishna, being supremely independent, he relishes the happiness of being bound by the love of his devotee. So the greatest independence for us is to be bound in love to him also. Now, when we try to approach the absolute truth, there are two paths that we can go by. One is the Arohapanta, the ascending path, trying to elevate ourselves on the strength of our own merit. And the other one is Avarohapanta, to assume a receptive posture and completely depend on the mercy of the Supreme Lord coming to us. So, now we're coming to the meaning of the word the darshan. If a person follows the path of karma, he just gets Maya darshan. He has darshan of Maya. But if someone will follow the path of Jnana, then their aim and object is to have the darshan of Brahma, the impersonal light of Brahman. So this darshan is called Asampurna darshan. Though the light of Brahman is the truth. Vadanti tattva vedastatvam yadgyanamatvayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdyate. Those who realize the truth, they say that this is a pratamatika. There is a preliminary vision. You will have to go through that stage. A preliminary darshan. But it's not complete. So the darshan of Brahman is called Asampurna darshan. If a person will follow the path of yoga, not Gyan, but following the path of yoga, then they may have darshan of Paramatma. This Paramatma darshan is called Khanda darshan. Khanda means partial, or that which is limited by time and space. We say, well, what is that? Paramatma is not limited by time and space. That's true, but no soul has an eternal relationship with Paramatma. Jivera Sorpoi Krishna Nityadas. The souls are related eternally with Bhagavan, and the form of Paramatma Vishnu is only in the heart during their sojourn within the material world, that is the Hirdakashayi Vishnu. So once the soul is either liberated in Brahman, or he goes to Vaikuntha or Golok, wherever he goes, but then he has no relationship with that Hirdakashayi Vishnu anymore, because Hirdakashayi Vishnu, his Leela, is only Sakshi, to be the witness of our activities. And to permit our activities in the Shrishti Leela. So he has two aspects of his Leela. Shrishti Leela, to create the world, and to be the Sakshi, to be the witness in the heart of all living beings. So once the living entity transcends the Shrishti Leela, then he has no relationship with Hirdakashayi Vishnu anymore. And so that darshan is limited by time, because eventually the time will come when the soul is liberated. So it's a Khanda darshan. Then there is the darshan of Bhagavan. The darshan of Bhagavan is Sampurna darshan. That is a complete darshan. Now, the path of Gyan, cultivating knowledge, that is Aroha Panta. Self-elevationism, the person is trying to elevate themselves. The path of yoga that leads to Paramatma, that is also Aroha Panta, a self-elevationist path. But only Bhakti, which gives the darshan of Bhagavan Sri Krishna, that is the Avaroha Panta, the path of descending grace. So Yasya Deve Parabhakti Yatha Deve Tatha Guru Tasyaiti Katita Hyata Prakashanti Mahatmana. When the living being, he surrenders completely to serve his Guru Pada Padma. Then, as Sri Krishna has said in Bhagavad Gita, Tadvidhi Pranipatena Pariprasnena Sevaya Upadeksanti Jnanam Jnaninastapradarshina. The meaning is very deep. In our subtle body, in our chitta, there are many vrittis, that is movements of pran. The pran is moving like threads, oscillating within our chitta, and the subjective experience of that is what? All of our thoughts, feelings, ideas, emotions, and perceptions. Basically everything that we know. They're all chitta vrittis. So when within our chitta there is no other vritti at all except for pranipat vritti, the vritti of living every moment of our life in prostration to our Guru and Sri Guru Parampara. When there's only pranipat vritti, when there is only the pariprashna vritti, oh Krishna, where are you? Where are you? Inquiry. Atato Brahma Jigyasa. No other thought except for the inquiry into that Tasmat Gurum Prapadyita Jigyasu Srayam Uttamam, the search for our supreme benefit. And Pariprashnena Sevaya Seva Vritti. So when within our consciousness there's no other chitta vritti but Pranipat vritti, Pariprashna vritti and Seva vritti, then what happens? Then Tasyaiti Katita Yata Prakashante Mahatmana. This is also very profound. Katita means spoken. Kata. Guru speaking kata. So what is spoken, that is katit. What is kata? Ka means come, anandam, ananda surupam Sri Krishna. Ka means ananda surup Krishna, and ta means steers tapayati. That which firmly establishes in the heart the swarup of Sri Krishna, ananda surup Sri Krishna, is called kata. So when Gurudev is speaking, if the disciple only has these three vrittis in his consciousness, then what is spoken, the artha. Now here artha doesn't mean the meaning. Artha can mean meaning. But here artha means the actual object itself. Krishna. Vrindavan. Sri Krishna's associates and pastimes. Katita yata. When the kata is spoken, the actual object of that kata, prakashante mahatmana, Swayameva Spuratyada. Itself manifests within the Vishuddha Chitta of the disciple, in the pure heart of the disciple. And this is how transcendental knowledge descends, through Sruti, through the hearing process. So, all the other paths, generally today, we see the people are following the Adhyakshik Sampradaya. Adhyakshik Sampradaya means the tradition of empiricism. What I see is the truth, there's nothing more than this, and this is valuable, and through my sense perceptions I will seek out my ultimate welfare. There's Adhyakshik Sampradaya. But Vaishnavas are not of that Arohapanta. We are of the Avarohapanta, and that is the Vidvat Sampradaya. The Sampradaya Vidvat, enlightened persons. So in this Vidvat Sampradaya, the method of receiving knowledge and our ultimate welfare is different. First of all, Sri Guru, he is the associate of Sri Krishna. He is a manifestation of Sri Krishna in this world, both at the same time. Yadyapi Amara Guru Chaitanya Das Tatapi Janya Ami Tahara Prakash. Although I know my Gurudev is a devotee of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but at the same time I see him as a direct manifestation of the Supreme Lord, through whom the Supreme Lord gives his mercy. Guru Krishna Rupaya Shastra Pramane Guru Pa Krishna Kripa Karen Bhaktagani. Guru is Krishna Rup, one form of Krishna, and is that form of Krishna who gives mercy. Krishna himself does not directly give mercy. He gives mercy in the form of Sri Guru. Sakshat Haritvena Samasta Shastre. So all the scriptures have said Sri Guru is a direct manifestation of Hari. So that Sri Guru, when he speaks, then this Katha is the Vastava Satya Suddha, the nectar of the factual ultimate reality. Vastava Satya Suddha. And when it emanates from the lips of Sri Guru, this is called Sanjivani Dhara. Just as there's a herb called Sanjivani Bhuti. If you are dying, even you have died, but if you receive this herb, you will come back to life. So the souls in this world are in a condition like a coma, spiritual coma. And when Sri Guru speaks, this is Sanjivani Dhara, a life-giving current. So this life-giving current has to be received by the Seva Snigdha Shishya. That is the disciple who is very, very snigdha, very soft, very affectionate, and very submissive, pliable in the hands of Sri Guru. So that Seva Snigdha Shishya, his ears are doing Anjali. So Anjali means this. When you cup your hands and hold them out and you beg. So that disciple who is Seva Snigdha Shishya, very affectionate, he's not prickly, not difficult, not stubborn, not hesitating at all to serve. When he extends his ears like Anjali, begging for that nectar coming from the lips of Sri Guru. So then the Guru, he speaks with Avimishra Bhav. A sense of love for Krishna which is not mixed with any personal motivation or any worldly emotion at all. And then, when that nectar is caught by the ears of such a disciple, then it manifests in his Vishuddha Hridaya Akash. There is a sky in your heart that is called Hridaya Akash, the sky of the heart. And because the disciple is serving sincerely, his Hridaya Akash has become pure, and when that sound touches his heart, then Sri Krishna himself manifests. And that is called Sruti. Sruti, the Vedas, the transcendental knowledge. That is the actual description of Kirtan and Sravan. The Guru is doing Kirtan and the disciple is doing Sravan. If that direct transmission of the nectar of the Supreme Truth is not manifesting in the heart, then, let's say, if the speaker does not have realization, it will not take place. If the speaker has realization, but the one who is listening is not surrendered, then it will also not take place. So the Abhinay means drama. Just making a drama of someone speaking and someone listening can never be the Guru Parampara. The actual substance has to be there. That the speaker should be realized and the hearer should be surrendered, and then there's the factual transmission of the Shabda Brahma, transcendental sound, and this is called the Sat Sampradaya or the Sri Guru Parampara, the Bhagavad Guru Parampara. Now, sometimes it happens that the disciple is not surrendered. He has an independent mood. He has some ulterior motives. Then what happens? When the Shabda Brahma, the transcendental sound is coming, it becomes obstructed. It becomes impeded because there are other vrittis. Tadvidhi pranipatena, there should be those three vrittis: panipat vritti, pariprashna vritti, and seva vritti. But if there are other vrittis in the consciousness of the disciple, then the reception of Shabda Brahma is impeded, and then it is subjectively experienced by that disciple, not as the realization of Krishna. As it said in Srimad Bhagavatam, Sadhyo Ridyavaruddhayat Pritibhiso Surus Vistachanat. There and then, when you hear Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna appears in the heart. In Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna said, Raja Vidya, Raja Goyam, Pavitram Idam Uttamam, Pratyakshavagam Dharmyam, Susukam Kartamabhyam. This bhakti, it is the king of knowledge, it's the king of secrets, it's the most important thing, and it's a Pratyaksha Avagamam Dharmyam. Pratyaksha Dharma. What does Pratyaksha mean? Direct perception of Krishna. Bhakti gives direct perception. Bhakti Paraishanubhavo Bhakti Anyatra Chaisa Trika Eka Kala. In Srimad Bhagavatam it is said, when a person engages in bhakti, then three things happen Eka Kala, at the same time, simultaneously, exactly there and then, Tatshanat, exactly in that moment. What is that? Bhakti. First, bhakti means that the ullas, the joy of his heart is expanding with joy of not enjoyment but seva, the spirit of seva. So, when one engages in devotional service, hearing, chanting and remembering, there is the ullas, the illumination and the prakash, the expansion of the heart is taking place. So when you're hearing and chanting, if you don't experience this, then the question arises, is one doing bhakti or not? But that's not enough. Bhakti Paresh Anubhav. What does Paresh Anubhav mean? Anubhav means realization of Paraisha, the Supreme Lord. Not that I'm doing bhakti now and in the future then I'll realize. No, Trika Ekakala, all at once, three things at the same time. And then the third thing, of course, virakti. Because when a person directly experiences the aprakita, vastu, the supernatural realm, then automatically there he has no attraction to the material world, so he gets virakti, detachment from this world. So these three things come at the same time. So this is the test. Are we practicing bhakti or not? So that is not bhakti only at the stage of prayojan. Here Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur said, Sambandha, Gyan is darshan, realization. Then Abhidaya Tattva is darshan, and the Prayojan Tattva. They're all darshan from beginning to end. So if there's no realization in our practice, then we can only say that we have yet to enter into the realm of bhakti. Srila Rupa Goswami Pad has described 64 angas of bhakti, and beginning with Guru Padashraya, Diksha Guru Sevan Sadama Pratishiksha Sagut Sadhu Maganu Gaman, taking shelter of Guru, receiving initiation, making inquiries about the Saddharma, the eternal religion of the soul, following in the footsteps of previous Charas and so on. So in the first 20 angas of bhakti, actually Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaran, they're not present in the first 20 angas. And then Rupa Goswami describes that these first 20 angas are called Praveshaya Dwara. They are the door to enter into bhakti. One who follows these, then he can enter into the actual practice of bhakti. And then when the Sravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam actually starts, it always implies direct and immediate experience. Yetu Tudiya Charanambu Koshuganda Jigranti Karna Vivarai Sutivata Nitam. In Srimad Bhagavatam it is said that, "O my Lord, your devotees smell the fragrance of your lotus feet carried on the air of the Vedic sound when it enters into their ears." So we don't smell at first, we don't smell the lotus feet of Krishna with the nose, but the fragrance of Krishna's lotus feet, and by implication also the color, the softness, the beauty, and gradually everything manifests through Shabda Brahma. So bhakti is like this. So in the beginning, when Srila Prabhupada was in 26 Second Avenue, he was there, he was lecturing. Once one homeless person came in from the streets with a toilet roll, and he was drunk, and he staggered in, and he put the toilet roll down and went out. Srila Prabhupada said, "This is..." So Srila Prabhupada was very encouraging in the beginning. Oh, try whatever feeling you have of affection, try to offer that to Krishna, and it will be bhakti. But the actual standard of bhakti is something much higher. So our Gurudev Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, he said, there's a Siddhanta for the Kanishta Adhikaris, there's a Siddhanta for the Madhyama Adhikaris, and there's a Siddhanta for the Uttam Adhikaris. So we cannot make progress in our spiritual life by only hearing again and again the Siddhanta which is for the Kanishta Adhikaris. Here in this Gaudiya Darshan, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur is calling us to exert ourselves, try to go out from our comfort zone and enter into the kata of the Madhyama Adhikaris, by which we can attain our supreme perfection of life. So, here, Srila Prabhupada discusses a subject called sport. Very interesting. He said that he raises the question that many philosophers throughout history, they have tried to explain or account for how is it that words convey meaning. A word is called pada. And the meaning of the word is called artha, the meaning. And the power of a word to express a meaning is called a vritti. So how do words express meaning? So he describes many different philosophers throughout history and the debates they've had with each other. So first of all, starting with the grammarians, like Panini, who wrote the famous grammar, and Patanjali, who also wrote the commentary on Panini's grammar, they're of the opinion that meaning is expressed by something called sport. This sport is the cause of the entire universe, and they identify it with Brahma. They say this must be the reason. Why? Because when you are listening to a word, then you hear the syllables one by one. So if I say the word bhakshana means eating. So you hear ba, ksha, na. Now, if I only say ba, you don't get the sense of eating. Only the sense of eating comes if you put them all together. But the problem is, psychologically, you never hear all the syllables together. Because you hear ba, and then that syllable disappears. And then you hear cha, and that syllable disappears. And then na, and then that syllable disappears. So, we cannot understand the subject just by hearing one syllable, or any one of the syllables, and we never actually hear all the syllables together. So then how do we get the sense of what it means? So, Patanjali and Panini, they say there's such a thing called spot. And when the syllables are spoken, this spot is illuminated, and then this spot reveals the meaning to you. So there are 3 stages. The person speaks. When you hear it, then these syllables are illuminating something called spot, and then the spot illuminates your intelligence with what the meaning is. This is their theory. Then there was another school, the Mimamsakas and the followers of Varnavard, Karmakanda. They say, no. There's no such thing as a spot at all. Because, first of all, we don't have a direct perception of it. We don't perceive. And also, if there was such a thing as spot, if you heard a word that you'd never heard before, you'd understand what it means, but you don't. You only know the meaning of words that someone has explained to you before, so when you hear them again, you remember them. And so the understanding comes about by each syllable is making a sanskar in your mind, and your intelligence matches this sanskar with another sanskar, and that's how you come to the meaning. So we experience that by memory we understand the meaning about words. So we don't agree with you, Spotvadis, because you are denying our direct experience, and you're also propagating the idea of something of which we have no experience. And furthermore, you have what is called Kalpana Gaurav Dosh. That is, Kalpana means imaginary, and Gaurav means kind of heaviness. It means the fault of the overcumbrousness of your argument due to the unnecessary multiplication of causes. This causes this, and then that causes that, and then that causes that, like that. So in this way, the Varnavard school, they said no, there's no other dimension to sound. Sound is just the syllables that you hear. That's all, Varnavard. That means the philosophy of that the meaning comes just from syllables, and the other spoke that the meaning doesn't come from the syllables, but it comes from something higher, behind the sound. So they were arguing, and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur here, he gives the point of view of the Yoga school, the Sankhya school, Jainini school, and the different philosophers. But in the end, then he said, actually, so much confusion has come about because they are discussing the effect of sound in Jagakash, in material space. But when we want to understand the meaning of the Vedas, then we have to consider the meaning of sound in the Chidakash, in the Paravyom, in the spiritual space. And this is what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has described in Shikshastakam. You know, among the Vedangas, the 6 Vedic disciplines like the Jyotish and Nirukt, etymology and astrology. So one of them is called Shiksha. And here in this context, Shiksha means the proper pronunciation of Vedas, that you have to have the right matra, the right meter, you have to have the right data and anudata, udata and anudata, the different intonations when you pronounce the mantras to get the results. So this is called Shiksha. So Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur said Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was given Shikshastakam. So Shikshastakam is, yes, how to chant a mantra, but it's not limited to intonation and meter and everything like in the Chidakash, in the spiritual space. There's no difference at all between the sound and that which is indicated by the sound. There's no difference between Sri Krishna and the name of Sri Krishna. So in Shikshastakam, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has indicated the real meaning of Spotvad by the phrase Vidya Vadhu Jivanam. Vidya Vadhu Jivanam. This Sankirtan is the very submissive and serving bride. Vidya Vadhu, Vidya, transcendental knowledge, is the submissive bride of Sankirtan. In other words, those who are chanting the holy name, then transcendental knowledge is serving them fully, with a complete dedication. And because the new bride is so chaste, she only serves those who do Sankirtanam. She never serves any karmis, jnanis, yogis, tapasvis, or anyone who does the Mishra Bhakti, mixed Bhakti. She only serves those who do pure Sankirtan. Sankirtan means Sarvato Bhavain Kirtan. Kirtan which is done with Sambandha Gyan, understanding your relation with Krishna. Kirtan that is done free from aparad. Kirtan that is done free from anartha. And kirtan that is done in the anugatya, under the guidance of pure devotees, that is called Sankirtan. Complete kirtan. And it is fully independent, and it spontaneously directly gives realization of the absolute truth. So, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur in this book, he discusses different types of Shabda Brittis, the powers of words to convey their meaning. So, in Sanskrit, you have the Abhida Britti, dictionary meaning of words. You have Lakshana Britti, associated meaning of words. For example, if someone says, Gangayam Goshaha, the village is on the Ganges. So you can't build a village in the middle of a river. So you don't take the direct dictionary meaning of the words, you take the meaning which is associated with the Ganga, that means the bank of the Ganges. The village is on the bank of the Ganges. So that's called Lakshana Vritti. And then there's Vyanjan Vritti, the implied meaning or suggested meaning. So it's a metaphorical meaning and so on. Now, among these, the Abhida Vritti, the direct dictionary definition, also has three types. That is called, first, the Yogiki Vritti. Yogiki Vritti means the meaning coming from the etymology. So if you say, today, the Pachak was Nashinga Prabhu. Pachak, he is Pachak. Why? Because the verbal root pach dhatu means to cook. So he's Pachak, he's the chef. Is it? So the word Pachak, chef, is derived from the verbal root. So that's the etymological meaning, Yogiki Vritti. Then another type of meaning is called Ruddhi, Ruddhi Vritti. Ruddhi Vritti means just the conventional meaning. In other words, the etymological meaning is just given up. Like the word mandap. You know, if you have a festival outside and you make a tent and there's a pavilion there and you go, it's a temporary awning for your festival, so it's called a mandap. But manda means ornaments, bhushan, and pa means protector. So mandap by etymology means the protector of the ornaments. But no one takes that meaning. When we say mandap, we know it means one awning, pandal for a program like that. So that is really Vritti. We take that meaning. So then there's Yoga Ruddhi. Yoga Ruddhi Vritti means there's a mixture of both. For example, Pankaj. When we say Pankaj, Panka means mud. And Ja means born. So the part of the meaning which is etymological, we say that which is born from the mud. So we take some of the etymological meaning, but we also take the conventional meaning. Why? Because many, many things are born from the mud. But when we say Pankaj, what do we mean? Lotus. We just mean lotus, like this. So that's a mixture of both. So these are different types of meaning. Now the Ruddhi Vritti, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur describes, the Ruddhi Vritti, the conventional meaning, without reference to etymology, without analyzing the roots and suffixes. So this is also of three types. Sadharana Ruddhi Vritti, Agya Ruddhi Vritti, and now very important term, very, very important, remember this, Vidvad Ruddhi Vritti. Vidvad Ruddhi Vritti. Vidvad Ruddhi Vritti means the meaning of the conventional meaning, the Ruddhi Vritti, the conventional meaning of the word as it is experienced in the consciousness of the Vidvan, of the enlightened person, of a pure devotee. So that is called Vidvad Ruddhi Vritti. Now the Vidvad Ruddhi Vritti of the word reveals Advaya Gyan. In other words, it has nothing to do with the dualities of this world. The Vidvad Ruddhi Vritti of a word actually gives you the direct experience of the transcendental world. So Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, when he said that when Mahaprabhu said Vidyavadhu Jivanam and Kirtanya Sadahari, he said it was not the intention of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to drown the entire world in a sound which would cover the Advaya Gyan Tattva. No, this was not his intention. When Mahaprabhu said continuously glorify Krishna, continuously chant the holy name, he actually meant everyone should transcend the dualities of this world and experience the non-dual reality. So that is called the Vidvat Ruddhi Vritti. Then the next level down is called Sadharan Ruddhi Vritti, the ordinary meaning of words. So Sadharan Ruddhi Vritti means the power of the word that binds your material intelligence to concentration on the objects of the world as they are conventionally conceived of in everyday usage. Okay? So Sadharan Ruddhi Vritti, we can say it's the correct meaning of the word, but Sadharan Ruddhi Vritti binds your intelligence to concentration on the material objects of the world as they're conceived of in conventional life. And then Agya Ruddhi Vritti means, Agya means ignorant. So some scholars and so on, who are very sattvic, then they use the Sadharan Ruddhi Vritti. But the general people who are in Tamagun and Rajagun, then they interpret words in other ways. So the Agya Ruddhi Vritti causes a further contraction of the meaning due to the person having a contracted consciousness. And from this arises all the customary language and behavior of those in Rajagun and Tamagun. Okay? So, the way that we receive words, the way that we understand words, depends upon our state of consciousness. Now this becomes really interesting because, you know, the poet William Blake, he said, both read the Bible day and night, but one sees black and one sees white. We're all reading the Shastra. We're all reading Srila Prabhupada's books, Gurudev's books, Veda, Vedanta, Upanishad, but everyone, when they read, it's causing a different vritti in their consciousness. Right? And that's where all the misunderstandings come about. You see? So Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, he said, if the Guru is pure and realized, and the disciple is surrendered, then the Vidvat Ruddhi Vritti of the Shastra manifests, the actual non-dual reality in his heart. But if the Guru is not qualified, or if he is, but the disciple is not surrendered, then 4 types of knowledge come. The first type, it's called Paritschinna Gyan. Paritschinna means just pieces of information, lots of data. So very often it happens that someone comes to a guru or a sadhu, they're trying to pick his pocket. They think, oh, he's got so much knowledge, I'll come and collect some. Trying to pick his pocket. But they get, what do they get? They're thinking that they're getting knowledge, but they're not. They're getting bits of information. So that doesn't work. Why? Because the absolute truth is akhanda. Jahya Nadi Ananta Akhanda Acheda Abeda Subeda Batavi. See Krishna, Gopal playing in Vrindavan, that is the indivisible reality. And because that reality is indivisible, you cannot know it by the material process of knowledge. Because we're accustomed to learning about a subject by collecting data. You go to school every day, you collect a few bits of data, and you put them all together slowly over months and years, you construct an edifice out of all of these pieces. And that is material knowledge. But because the absolute truth is indivisible, you cannot learn about it by that, what Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur calls the piecemeal process. That's not possible. It's only possible through the reception of Shabda Brahma. So the first type of knowledge which comes to the person whose heart is making maika vyavadan, that means there is illusory impediment to the reception of the transcendental knowledge, he gets parichinna gyan, broken fragments of information. Or he might get sankirn gyan. Sankirn gyan means contracted knowledge in which the details have not manifested. So it's like crunched together and mixed up with parichinna gyan also. So that is called sankirn gyan. His consciousness is contracted, so he receives a contracted understanding. The details, they're not there. Nirakiranhangsana panavitayata kona pritak koripayat. It is said about Rupa, if Rupa Goswami had not come into this world, then just as a swan can separate milk from water, then if Rupa Goswami had not come, who would have separated the pure bhakti from impure bhakti? Who would have separated sadhana bhakti from bhav bhakti from prema bhakti? Vaidhi bhakti from raganuga bhakti? Prema bhakti into prem, sneha, man, pranaya, rag, anurag, bhav, mahabhav, rudabhav, adi rudabhav, modan, mohan and madan. You see? So when an ordinary person hears about bhakti and hears about prem, it's all sankran, it's all crunched together. But when Rupa Goswami heard about prem from Mahaprabhu, it was all opened out into its glorious transcendental varieties. That's Rup Shiksha. Chaitanya Charitamrita Lila chapter 19. When Mahaprabhu was instructing Rupa Goswami, then he was actually receiving the Advaya Gyan, transcendental knowledge, without the Sankirnata, being crushed into a vague and blurry concepts. So that is called Sankir Gyan. The next type of Gyan is the Vikrita Gyan. That means deformed, distorted knowledge, or Vivartagrasta Gyan. Vivartagrasta Gyan means the knowledge which is completely in the grip of illusion. And for example, someone hears Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and every night he goes into the forest of Vrindavan, plays his flute, and he calls all the wives of other men to meet with him in the forest, and he enjoys with them. And says, that's terrible. How can you worship such a God? He's immoral. And he doesn't even follow Dharma. I'll stick with Lord Ramachandra. Yeah? So that's an example. Someone is hearing. Obviously, it's not really, they're not having any realization or experience. And the whole projection of this world onto the Leela causes them to receive the Vivartagrasta Gyan. So that leads us to an interesting topic that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, he touches. I will go into morality. I'll come to that later. He has a whole section in his lecture about morality, but it's on a higher topic because it's the morality, the supreme morality of Radha Krishna and Gopi's Leela. So we'll come to that afterwards. Just to complete this topic a little bit about the Vidvat Rudi, Sadhana Rudi and Agya Rudi. So, how is this relevant? It's extremely relevant because persons, as devotees, we're reading the scripture and many misconceptions, many arguments come around among the devotees. It's because one devotee is taking Agya Rudi Vritti, another one is taking Sadhana Rudi Vritti, and only if there's a devotee who's experiencing the Vidvat Rudi Vritti, they can clear the subject. It's possible to clear the subject, otherwise not. So for example, let's say Rupa Goswami Pad, he has described the eligibility for Raganuga Bhakti. Right? Tatat bhava madhurye shute digyat apekshate natra shastram cha yuktim cha talobat patilakshanam. When a person hears about the sweet, loving relationship between Krishna and his associates, then his heart hankers for that, and his intelligence is no longer dependent on logic, reason, and the injunctions of Shastra. That is the lobot of the symptom of the awakening of greed. Okay? So then someone, they're hearing this verse, but they're hearing according to, let's give them the benefit of the doubt, sadhana rudibriti. So they think, yes, when I hear about the loving pastimes, how sweet they are between Krishna and his associates, then I feel attracted to this. And I don't feel dependent on logic and reason and shastric injunction. So I've got greed and I'm qualified for Raganuga Bhakti. Someone who just walked in today, I think, yeah, me too. Why? Because they're taking the Srute. Srute means on hearing. So if we take the word hearing in the sadhana rudibriti, in the ordinary sense just like maybe in the morning you hear beep, 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 beep. Oh, I heard my alarm clock. Right? Or you hear some traffic going past outside the window. This is hearing. But when the acharyas write in the Bhakti Shastras the word hearing, it doesn't mean that. That's sadhana rudibriti. What does hearing actually mean? Bhakti pareshano bhavo virakti. It's hearing accompanied by or implying simultaneous realization. So if you look at the commentary on this verse by Jiva Goswami, he literally said that. He says, Srute kinchit anubhute. Hearing actually means having some realization of it. Some realization of what? The sweetness of the loving relation between Krishna and his associates. Now in Bhakti Sandarbha, Srila Jiva Goswami says, Pratamam namna sravanam antakaranam shudyatam apeksham shudej antakarane rupa shravanena tarudo yogyata bhavati. Means, in the beginning one should hear the holy name. And by hearing the holy name, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Ram Ram. As Srila Prabhupada said, hear, become clear. Yeah? The antakaran, the chitta becomes cleansed by hearing the holy name, and then as soon as the antakaran is cleansed, when you hear about Krishna's form, then the spurti of Krishna's form, the vision of Krishna's form awakens in the heart. And then when the form is fully awakened, when one hears about Sri Krishna's qualities, then the qualities of Krishna awaken. And when Sri Krishna's prominent 64 qualities have awakened in the heart, then when one hears about Krishna's associates, the associates awaken. And that's what Rupa Goswami is speaking about. In other words, when one hears about the sweetness of Krishna and his associates, that means when you have a spurti of it in your heart. And that takes place after you've had the darshan of Krishna's form, after you've had the darshan of his qualities, and then his associates. Like this. And then that person seeing what a loving exchange Krishna and his associates are having, reflected in his purified chitta. Then that devotee is, I want this. And now he's no longer dependent on logic, reason, scripture, or anything. That's the awakening of greed. So now we ask the question again. Raise your hand if you're qualified for Raganuga Bhakti. Then you get a different answer. Right? So I'm just using this as one example, just to illustrate the difference between understanding Shastra according to Sadhana Rudibriti, Agya Rudibriti, and understanding Shastra according to Vidvat Rudibriti. And so this is the tremendous contribution that Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur has done, because he has very clearly, exactly, meticulously, precisely, accurately described how to solve the crisis of interpretation which is always going on in every generation among the Vaishnava community. It's a strange thing, because at the time of Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, there were so many Goswamis, there were so many sadhus, they were all learned in the scripture, they were all speaking about Siddhanta and Chaitanya Charitamrita and Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and Ujjwala and Nilamani and the pastimes of Krishna. And Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur came there, and suddenly there was a chaos. Why did he not agree with them? Why did Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur? He went on all Brajmandal Parikrama and he met with so many saints. And at the end of the Parikrama he said, alas, I did not meet one Vaishnava. And the devotee said to him, but we saw so many great persons worshipped by many people and Siddha Babajis and others. He said, all Kanishta Adhikari. It's a bit shocking. And even one may think it's offensive, but if you think it's offensive, then you're being offensive. We have to try to understand the heart of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur. Because he's qualified, he can tell. When someone is speaking Harikatha, someone who understands Vidvat Vritti Britti can tell when the speaker does not understand Vidvat Vritti Britti. But the common persons who have not been enlightened or informed about this, they cannot discriminate. And so, when there is no proper transmission of the Advaya Gyan through Shabda Brahma, then what comes? Apasampradaya. Ao Baal Karta Bhaja Neda Dara Veshasai Sahaja Saki Bhakti Smarta Jat Gosai Ati Bali Chudadari Goranga Nagari Totakari Heita Rasangi Nahikari. 13 different types of deviations. And so many new deviations come, but they fall within the broader categories of these 13 original ones. Just like now there is the Ritviks, right? You know the Ritviks people? Are there any Ritviks here? Good evening. Your Sampradaya used to be called the Kartabhajas. The Upper Sampradaya Kartabhajas. They're actually the original Ritviks. Because they came up with a philosophy that you can take Diksha from Acharya of a previous generation who's already become unmanifest. He says there's really nothing new under the sun. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. When Rupa Goswami Pad says Krishnam Swaram Janam Chasya Prastam Nijasa Nihitam Tattatkata Vitasya Sokared Vasam Brajay Sada. The path of Raganuga Bhakti entails the always remembering Krishna along with his associates that you want to follow in the footsteps of. Now, okay, well let's do it. I'm remembering the associate I want to follow. Are you? What does Smaran mean in Vidvat Vritti Britti? Smaran means darshan. It means darshan. So, those persons who advance to the stage where they can see the associates, they can follow them. So Prabhupada said, Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur said, the bhajan which you are doing, which is devoid of darshan, this is not bhajan. This is like a hunter going into the forest at night, in the dark, randomly shooting arrows here and there, hoping to hit something. That is not bhajan. Bhajan means first to be established in Sambandha Gyan. The darshan of Krishna manifests in the heart. First, the Rupa of Krishna in the stage of Nishta. And some gunas which are related to Aishwarya. In the stage of Ruchi, then Krishna's Madhurya, sweet qualities, along with his associates who manifest in the stage of Ruchi. Therefore, Raganuga Bhakti Sadhana will begin from the stage of Ruchi. Because without seeing the associates, we cannot be Raganuga, we cannot follow them. This is the actual Siddhanta. So Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur said that bhajan depends on spot dharma. Spot dharma means the nature or characteristic of spot. If there's a spot, a bursting in the heart of the transcendental sound, which is self-disclosing, which is revealing itself, the degree to which it is revealing itself to you, and you are remembering that, you are following that, then that is actual bhajan. And if by the material mind you try to extend yourself materially, artificially, now you've left the avarohapanta, the descending process, and you're trying to follow the avarohapanta like a yogi. So when the person extends by his material mind beyond the level of the spot dharma that he's qualified to experience, then what comes is called pautalikata. Pautalikata, the word putalika means a doll. Like if you go to a shop selling clothes, you see a mannequin in the window. So that's called a putalika. So pautalikata means instead of worshipping Krishna, you're making an artificial material Krishna in your mind from material energy and worshipping that. So that is idolatry. And that is also, Prabhupada calls it, Prakrit Sahaj Bhav. Because you are using Prakriti to worship Prakriti, and it is not bhajan. Understand? So, people use this word Sahaja like an insult, but it's not very well defined. So anyone can throw it around here and there. You know, if someone is just, whatever, selling paintings and telling people about vegetarianism, oh, he's okay. But if anyone talks about Radha Krishna, he's Sahaja. Huh? Sometimes it happens like this. No, what is Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur saying? He's precisely defining the Prakrita Sahaja. It means when the person in his bhajan, he's trying to follow Aroha Panta and artificially extend himself beyond the spota dharma of the holy name, then he's Prakrita Sahaja. So, in Chaitanya Charitamrita is written, Tabe jani aparada tohite prachur, Krishna nama bija tohe na kare ankur. The holy name is like a seed, and this seed sprouts. It becomes Krishna's form, qualities, associates, your service, your own swarup and service and pastimes, gradually like this. So if this seed of the holy name is not sprouting, it is due to nam aparad. So there's no way that a person can enter into Raganuga sadhan while chanting nam aparad. So it's very clearly defined. If the name is not manifesting its spota dharma, then we are committing nam aparad. And if we are committing nam aparad, one is not entering into Raganuga bhakti. So we have to retrace our steps somewhat and learn from Braj Rasik Nam Tattva Vit Vaishnava. A Vaishnava who knows the truths of the holy name. And by their mercy, hearing from them, saving them, they can untangle us from the dense web of offenses which is stopping the spurti of the holy name, which gives all transcendental knowledge. Vidyavatu Jivanam. So, now we'll come on to some other interesting topics from this book. It's a very broad book. Many things are discussed. One thing is the difference between Leela and Karma. Karma, that means the activities of the living entities who are covered by ignorance. All of their activities within the universe, in the higher, middle and lower planets, where they are searching after some object, being impelled by their ahankar, by their ego, by their kartritra abhiman, I am the agent, I am the doer. And in that karma, they are tasting the reactions of their past activities, and they are fully bound by that, and it's completely unavoidable. On the other hand, Leela is something which lies beyond all 14 planetary systems. It is completely aprakrita, where the totally independent Supreme Lord, according to His will, is enjoying loving pastimes with His devotees. And this Leela is achintya. It is inconceivable. It is beyond the mind. It is a Swayam Prakash, only self-manifested by Sri Krishna's Samvit Briti, the self-disclosing internal potency of Krishna, Samvit Shakti. So that is called Leela. Now, in this Leela there are three things: Aishwarya, Madhurya, and Audarya. So Aishwarya means when that Supreme Lord is manifesting to the consciousness of His devotees as having the Isha capability to do anything. Kartum akartum anyata kartum samarthaha sa Ishvara. Ishvara is that person who can do anything or not do anything or undo anything that has been done, or make something done that was not done. All the possibilities are there. He is called Ishvara. So when God is manifest like that to His devotee, then that is His Aishwarya Leela. Then Madhurya is the sweet human-like pastimes, where even the Supreme Lord forgets that He is God, the devotee forgets that He is God, and it's Naravat, human-like. And he does not transgress the limitations of human behavior. That is called Madhurya. Even though sometimes Aishwarya is manifest, but still his mood and his interaction with his devotees is human-like. So this is called the Madhurya. Now, the Aishwarya Leela can serve Madhurya. Like sometimes Krishna can lift Govardhan hill. But everyone thinks, oh, this is the cowherd boys are helping him with their sticks. Or Govardhan is floating in the air and Krishna is just keeping his finger there. Govardhan is levitating. So there may be different moods. Or it may be that Nanda Maharaj, because he worshipped Lord Narayan, that Lord Narayan has entered into Krishna, Lord Narayan is lifting it. But Krishna cannot do it, Gopal cannot do it. So Aishwarya Leela can serve Madhurya Leela. But the Madhurya never serves Aishwarya. Madhurya is supreme. Aishwarya is the servant of Madhurya. And what is Audarya? Audarya, compassion, is nothing but the dispensation of the Aishwarya Gandhahin Madhurya Bhav. In other words, when the Supreme Lord distributes the Madhurya Bhav, which has no Aishwarya Bhav in it, that is called Audarya. Now we see in Sri Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan, he breaks all the religious principles. In the Rasa Leela, he's playing in the Nikunj with the millions of gopis at the same time, in loving pastimes. So someone may say, oh, this is quite wrong. So Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, is explaining that these persons, they have a material concept of Krishna. That is called Padmaniti. Perhaps you know that when Krishna was in Dwarka, then Padma, that is the mother of Kamsa Maharaj, she had heard that in Vrindavan, all the Brijvasis, they're crying so much. So Padma, she said, oh, why are they crying so much? Why are all these Brijvasis weeping? We can solve this problem. You see, I know why they're weeping. Because of their loss. They've lost so much. They're thinking like that. Because Krishna lived in Vrindavan for about 10 years and 8 months. And every day they used to send him out into the forest to take the cows to graze. And they were feeding him every day and taking care of him. It was quite expensive to take care of him. So we have to calculate. How much does it cost to hire a boy to take care of the cows every day for 10 years? No. And then we'll subtract that from how much the Brijvasis spent on Krishna with his food and clothing and housing and ornaments and everything. And then we'll see if they spent more on him than the amount of work that they got out of him. Then we'll just calculate that and we'll send that exact amount to the Brijvasis and then they can stop crying. So because she's materialistic, she's always calculating and seeing the Krishna Leela in a material way. So those persons who think that Krishna, he's very immoral, they're like that. They're projecting their material experience onto Sri Krishna. What is morality? Morality is the check or forbidding the living entity who thinks that he is the enjoyer of the material energy from indulging his weaknesses of lust and anger and greed. This is Dharma. Dharma is constricting the tendency of the living entity who is weak and keeps being involved in faulty activities of lust and anger and greed due to his ego of thinking he's the enjoyer of the world. So to curb those tendencies, Dharma is there. So if there is an entity who is not of this world, who is beyond this world, who is fully perfect and has no weaknesses whatsoever, then what to speak of Dharma being applicable to him, even the shadow of Dharma does not exist in that plane. So that Krishna, he acts why? Madbhaktanam vinodatam. Karomi vivida kriya. Krishna said, all the activities I do, they have to give joy to my devotees. So Krishna acts out of love, being bound by the love of his devotees. And therefore, he does not have any necessity to follow any dharma. He does whatever can give the greatest happiness to all of his devotees. And if anyone will demand that Krishna must follow the rules and regulations of dharma which are applicable to this world, and say, no, 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 how can he enjoy loving pastimes with millions of others' wives in the forest? Then that person is an atheist. This is the definition of atheist. Because they're trying to make some obstacle to the rasa, the supreme pleasure of the absolute truth. Because a theist, someone who believes in God, tries to please God, not to become an obstacle to his pleasure. Now, we're coming to some of the meanings of Gaudiya Darshan. Now, Darshan, the word Darshan, it comes from Drish Dhatu, Drish, and Lut Pratyay, the suffix Lut is added to Drish Dhatu, and it makes the word Darshan. So this word Darshan means Avalokana, to observe. See, generally people think the word Darshan means philosophy, but actually means Avalokana, to observe. It means Sakshatkar, direct experience, and it also means upalabdhi, to attain, to perceive, or to understand. So this word darshan automatically indicates three things: drasta, the seer; drishya, the seen; and darshan kriya, the act of seeing. So those who are Mayavadis, they want to have triputi vinash. That means the destruction of these three. So the Mayavad philosophy cannot be called any kind of darshan. They have no right to say, oh, this is our Kevaladvaita darshan. It is not, we follow Vedanta darshan. No, you don't follow any darshan at all. Because darshan means drasta, one who sees; drishya, one who is seen; and darshan kriya, the act of seeing as well. So, the Mayavadis, they accept that the seer, the drashta, is the living entity and the world is his object of vision. So to get liberation, they want to destroy this duality. But actually, the actual drashta is the Supreme Lord. Om Tad Vishnu Paramam Padam Sada Pasyante Suraya Diliva Chakshu Artatam. Just as the sun is shining in the sky, so the eye of the Supreme Lord is upon everyone. So he is the seer and we are the seen. He is the enjoyer and we are the enjoyed. So until one adopts a proper relationship with the transcendental truth, seeing I cannot see him, but he can see me. I am not the enjoyer of him. I am to be enjoyed by him. That is actual darshan or philosophy. And then, when one is properly situated in relation with the Supreme Lord, Yameve se vrinute tena labhyas tasyai sattva vivrinute tanum swam. Who can see the Supreme Lord? That person whom the Supreme Lord himself chooses. So when we change our angle of vision to be thinking that we are the seer, depending on our own merit, and we depend on the mercy of the Lord, think I am only seen by him, then when the Supreme Lord glances mercifully on us, that infuses us with Samvit Shakti, and we are able to have Sri Krishna's darshan. So these are some of the meanings of the word darshan. It is not philosophy, it is the direct realization of God. Now, what is Gaudiya darshan? In this lecture, Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur said, my Gurudev, Srila Gokishore Das Babaji Prabhupada, he says, Gokishore Prabhupada, he said, he did not introduce himself as a Gaudiya. And there are many reasons for this. First of all, if someone says Gaudiya means a person from Gauda Desh, why would my Gurudev introduce himself as being a material being from a material geographical location. No, he would never do that. So what does Gaudiya mean? A worshipper of Vishnu is called a Vaishnava. A worshipper of Krishna is called a Karshna. And one who is one-pointed in the service of Gauri, that is Radharani, is called a Gaudiya. Now, Prabhupada said that my Guru, Srila Gokishore Prabhupada, he never even introduced himself as a Gaudiya, because a Gaudiya is something very extraordinary and beyond this world. So he would introduce himself as the Das Anudas of a Gaudiya. Gaudiya. So what is this Gaudiya? Prabhupada gives the example in the Chatusloki Bhagavatam. There he said, Yatamahanti bhutani bhutetsuscha bhateshvanu pravistana pravistani tatateshu nateshvahum. Just as the material elements enter into every object and also exist outside, so I am also within and outside of everything. Now this verse is not really a discussion of metaphysical principles or the ontology of elements. The discussion of the ontology of the elements is a metaphor to describe praying. It is about love. It is describing where the Vishay Tattva is within and without the Ashray Tattva. And this is Gaudiya Darshan. In Chaitanya Charitamrita it is said, Eitin Thakur Gaudiyaki Koryachin Atmasat, Eitinera Charna Bando Tinimoranat. There are three Thakurs, Govinda Gopinath and Madan Mohan. So those persons whom Govinda Gopinath and Madan Mohan have made Atmasat. We discussed that on Prahlad in Nashinda's day, Atmasat. That means those persons whom Govinda Gopinath, Madan Mohan have assimilated and incorporated into their eternal realm of divine Leela, they are called Gaudiya. So, here, Yatamahanti Bhutan, to be Atmasat, to be incorporated into the Leela of Radha Govinda Gopinath Madan Mohan, means, like Braj Gopis, to in every moment see Radha Krishna inside and outside. Sarva Bhuteshu Ya Pasyat Bhagavad Bhava Atmana Bhutani Bhagavad Tatman Esha Bhagavatottamaha. To have bound the lotus feet of Krishna with the ropes of love, that He's always in the heart, and everywhere one looks, one sees Him. So Prabhupada gives the example of the Rasalila. When Sri Krishna disappeared from Rasalila, and gopis were searching for Him everywhere, and they were talking to the trees, talking to the tulsi, talking to the flowers, talking to the earth, seeing everyone as their guru actually, and searching for Krishna, seeing Him. Stavra Jangnama Deki Nadeki Tanavarti Savatrahoi Nija Ishta Deva Spurti. But even this is not enough for Gaudiya Darshan. Prabhupada said that the rasas are situated one above another. Yatotara, Yatotaram, Asoswado, Visheshus Ulasamayapi. In Chaitanya, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, it said, each of the rasas is one above the other. And the higher rasas include all the ingredients of the lower rasas, but the lower rasas don't include the ingredients of the higher rasas. So he said it's very common in this world that a person thinks of God and thinks, oh Father, God is my Father. God is like the parent. But we see in the relation of the parents that even before you are born, the parent is serving the child. Right? They're doing scans and all kinds of things. And decorating the baby's room. And even before the child is born, they're doing so much service. Then when the child is born, they're serving and serving. And then when the child grows up, there's even no guarantee that the child will serve the parents. Even. So the activity of the child is called Dohan Kriya. Dohan Kriya means exploitation, or it literally means milking. Right? The baby is just drinking the blood of the mother. The mother's blood turns into milk and the baby is sucking it and getting fat and strong. It's a Dohan Kriya. Therefore, the relationship of being the child of God, this is not the real best manifestation of love, because it is like exploiting God, and it is a Dohan Kriya. He said, but in Braja, it's the other way around. And God becomes the child of Mother Yashoda. And the devotee exists for the Supreme Lord's own Dohan Kriya, his own exploitation. And the more that devotee is exploited in every way by Krishna, the more ecstasy the devotee feels, actually. Huh? Not like in this world. So then Srila Prabhupada goes on to say that what is Gopi Bhav? Gopi Bhav is the Madhurya Rasa includes all the qualities of the lower rasas, including the Vatsalya Rasa. So Gopi Bhav, that relationship with Krishna, is the maximum Dohan Kriya. Krishna is milking the gopis completely, all of their senses, every pore of their skin, every part of their body. Krishna is completely enjoying the Braja Gopis. So that mood of Braja Gopis, who experience the highest bliss of being fully exploited by Sri Krishna in Parakya Rasa, that is the Unnata Ujjwala Rasa that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give. Now he said that the word darshan for gopis doesn't mean sambhog, meeting. For Braj gopis, the word darshan means seva. It means seva, service. So whether they see Krishna or they don't see him, they're always serving him. And if they do see him, they don't see to enjoy him, they've come for his Dohan Kriya, that he will exploit them. That is their supreme joy. Now, this Seva Vritti, we discussed before, that how all the movements of our Chitta, they're actually the movements of Pran. Right? The sutras of Prana moving in the mind, that is called Chitta Vritti. So, the spiritual bodies in the spiritual world are made of Sandini Shakti, and the Vrittis are the Aprakrita Pran, supernatural Pran of Samvit and Hladini. And they are moving also in the spiritual minds of the devotees in the spiritual world. So Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, he said that when the Seva Vritti, to become the person who is the object of Krishna's Dohan Kriya, becomes so intense that it completely pervades the mind and it overflows from the mind, and that Seva Vritti of the Aprakrita Pran in the mind becomes manifest in the body and becomes visible on the body. Only then you can have actual darshan of Krishna. That is the Gaudiya darshan. So he's actually making a reference here to Ujjwala Nilamani. There, Rupa Goswami gives the definition of Mahabhav. Anuraga susamvedya dasha prapapakashita yavadasha vritistet bhava ityavadiyate. So, in Mahabhav, Anurag comes to its highest state, and the body becomes filled with the sattvic bhavs in the stage of Udipta and Sudipta. 5, 6, 7, 8 sattvic bhavs are coming at once. But why does that happen? Because the movement of pran in the mind becomes so overwhelmed with the seva vritti that it comes from the mind into the pran and travels all over the body, and that's why all the sattvic bhavs manifest at once. And at that time, the bodies of the gopis become one with the nature of the Mahabhav in their mind. And that is why Radhika is called Mahabhav Swarup. It's not exactly that she's made of Mahabhav. It is, the bodies are made of Sandini. But the speciality is due to the overflowing of Anurag in the mind spreads throughout the body, and the whole body now becomes one with the vritti of Anurag. And so Rupa Goswami says that Varamrita Sarupa Sri Swam Sarupam Mano Nayet. This greatest Amrita, this greatest nectar of Mahabhav completely becomes one with the mind and then overflows, becomes one with the body, and then from the body it overflows and affects everyone else, Yavadashaya vritti. So there are three things in the definition. Starting with the vritti here, Swasambheda Dasha, to the vritti here, Prakashita, to the vritti going out. Yeah? Actually, Mukunda understands all these things. If you don't understand this, you can speak to him after the class. Then it becomes the Yavadashaya vritti. Understand? So, only a person who has that overflowing where the Mahabharats become one with their Swarup, they can see fully the beauty of Krishna, fully the beauty of Radharani. And when Radha and Krishna embrace, Radhika embraces with every pore of her body, every pore of the body of Sri Krishna, and they become one form. That is the Gaudiyanas, Gauranga Mahaprabhu. And when you see that, that is called Gaudiya Darshan. So this is why Srila Gokishwara says, I am not Gaudiya, but I am Das of Gaudiya. So we could not go in very deeply and we could not touch many topics, but I just tried to pick a few jewels out of the ocean of this amazing Shastra. So please everyone, take 5 copies each and distribute to all your friends. And in this way, we're trying to celebrate the 150th anniversary of Srila Prabhupada by immersing ourselves in his Vichardhara, in the current of his conception. I can also say that this was also, it was translated into Hindi. I've translated this from Gurudev's Hindi version and from the original Bengali that was published by the Bhagavatar Gaudiya Math as well. Srila Gurudev gave this in August 2009. So it was one of the very last contributions that Srila Gurudev gave to us. So we owe it to Gurudev. Gurudev is our everything, our all in all. We fully dependent on Gurudev in all respects, and we owe it to Srila Gurudev to see what was this gift that he presented just before leaving from this world. Srila Gurudev ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Gaudiya Darshana ki jai, Bale Vrindavan Vyai Lal ki jai, Varsani Wali ki jai, Jai Jai Sri Radhe